In the ever-evolving landscape of American conservative politics, one name continues to dominate headlines and spark endless debate: Candace Owens. Once celebrated as the fearless warrior of the Maga movement, Owens now finds herself standing at the center of a political storm. To many, she was the perfect embodiment of the new conservative voice, bold, unapologetic, and unafraid to challenge the mainstream. But now, that very voice seems to be turning against the same movement that helped create it. Is Candace Owens truly trying to blow up Maga from the inside? Or is she attempting to expose what she sees as corruption, manipulation, and hypocrisy festering beneath the surface of right-wing politics? To understand how we got here, we have to rewind a few years. Candace Owens didn't start as a conservative darling. In fact, her political journey began on the opposite side of the spectrum. Once a critic of Donald Trump, she experienced a dramatic political awakening, one that transformed her into one of his loudest defenders during his presidency. Her rise was meteoric, fueled by fiery speeches, viral social media clips, and fearless appearances on mainstream news outlets. Candace positioned herself as the fresh, young, articulate face of conservatism, someone who could take on the left's narratives about race, identity, and culture, and win. During the height of the Maga movement, Candace Owens became a star. Her passion for defending Trump's policies, her rejection of political correctness, and her willingness to challenge Black Lives Matter made her a central figure in what many saw as a cultural revolution. She wasn't afraid to take on anyone, celebrities, politicians, or activists, and that boldness made her a favorite among Trump supporters. She toured campuses, spoke at major conservative conferences, and became a regular name in right-wing media circles. But over time, that same boldness, the very quality that made her a star, started to cause friction inside the conservative world. Candace Owens was never someone to stay quiet, and as her influence grew, so did her independence. While others towed the Maga line, Owens began asking questions, sometimes publicly challenging figures who had been key allies. She began talking about the performative loyalty within the movement, suggesting that many conservatives weren't fighting for truth, but for fame, attention, and donor money. Her critics saw this as betrayal. Her supporters saw it as bravery. The tension between Candace Owens and other conservative figures first began to show in subtle ways: cryptic tweets, veiled podcast comments, and quiet unfollows on social media. But it didn't stay subtle for long. Soon, Candace found herself openly clashing with some of the biggest names on the right, including those at Turning Point USA, an organization that had once proudly featured her as a rising star. Behind closed doors, disagreements reportedly turned heated. Candace accused certain conservative media outlets and influencers of being more concerned with preserving their political access than with telling the truth. She hinted that some of them were controlled, that there was a hidden agenda to silence voices that didn't fit the party narrative. As these comments spread online, rumors began to fly. Was Candace Owens being blacklisted from conservative circles? Was she deliberately distancing herself from Trump and MAGA? Or was she simply tired of the hypocrisy she claimed to see behind the curtain? Her comments on Israel and the Republican establishment seemed to be the final straw for many. Candace began to question U.S. foreign policy, something that, in the conservative world, is often seen as sacred ground. When she called out what she viewed as blind loyalty within the party, it sent shockwaves through right-wing media. Prominent conservative influencers accused her of being divisive. Some even called her dangerous for the movement. But Owens stood her ground. In one of her podcast episodes, she made it clear that her allegiance was not to any political group, but to what she called truth. She told her audience, "I'm not here to protect politicians or parties. I'm here to protect principles. And if that means calling out people on my own side, I'll do it every single time." That kind of statement drew admiration from many conservatives who felt that the movement had become too focused on personality worship. But it also drew the fury of loyal Maga supporters who saw it as a direct attack on Donald Trump and his legacy. And then came the whispers that Candace Owens might be intentionally trying to undermine Maga from within, that she was aligning herself with figures outside the Trump circle, possibly preparing for a post-Trump era in Republican politics. Some even speculated that she was laying the groundwork for her own political brand, one that could survive and thrive even if Maga faded away. Political insiders' tough questions. Was Candace Owens genuinely evolving her beliefs, or was she strategically rebranding herself for the next chapter of American conservatism? If there's one thing that's undeniable, it's that Candace has always been a master strategist. Her every move seems calculated to spark conversation, controversy, and attention. And that's exactly what's happening now. Every word she says becomes a headline. Every tweet she posts becomes a talking point. And whether her critics admit it or not, she's shaping the narrative. Her tension with Ben Shapiro, her former colleague at the Daily Wire, only added fuel to the fire. What started as quiet disagreements soon erupted into public clashes. Owens accused the Daily Wire of silencing certain perspectives, and Shapiro responded by calling her comments disgraceful. The fallout was intense, and fans on both sides took to social media to debate who was right. To some, it was a necessary confrontation that revealed how controlled conservative media really is. To others, it was proof that Candace had gone rogue. But here's where things get even more interesting. Despite all the backlash, Candace Owens' audience is growing. Millions of conservatives, independents, and even moderates are tuning in to hear her speak. They might not agree with everything she says, but they respect her courage to challenge her own side. That independence is rare in American politics, and it's what keeps Candace Owens relevant. Meanwhile, inside MAGA circles, there's unease. Owens' recent comments about Trump's legal battles and campaign strategies have angered die-hard loyalists. She suggested that the movement risks becoming too emotional, too focused on revenge, and not focused enough on policy. That kind of criticism strikes a nerve, especially as Trump gears up for another potential White House run. Candace Owens now walks a tightrope. On one side, she's still respected by millions of conservatives who see her as a truth-teller. On the other, she's vilified by those who believe she's sabotaging MAGA from within. But if history has shown us anything, it's that Owens thrives on this kind of chaos. Her podcast, social media posts, and speeches are now more direct, raw, and unapologetic than ever. She talks about corruption, censorship, and the moral decay of the political elite, not just on the left, but on the right too. She's painting a picture of a movement that's lost its soul, a movement that has replaced truth with tribalism. So what happens next? Does Candace Owens break completely from the MAGA world, or does she reinvent it in her own image? Some predict that she's preparing to launch a new conservative movement, one that rejects both the establishment GOP and the cult-like loyalty of hardcore MAGA. A movement focused on values, family, and faith, but not controlled by any single figure or billionaire donor. If that's true, then Candace Owens isn't trying to destroy MAGA. She's trying to evolve it. She's trying to blow up what it has become so that something new can rise from the ashes. But make no mistake, this evolution won't come without a fight. Conservative politics is already a battlefield of egos, money, and media power, and Candace Owens has just declared war on the system that made her famous. Every new video, every new tweet, every new statement from her seems to ignite another round of debate. Some fans call her the truth-teller of our generation. Others call her an opportunist who bites the hand that fed her. But regardless of what side you're on, everyone agrees on one thing. Candace Owens has become impossible to ignore. In the end, this isn't just a story about Candace Owens. It's a story about the identity crisis within American conservatism. It's about what happens when a movement built around one man, Donald Trump, begins to fracture. And as that movement tries to redefine itself, voices like Candace's will play a major role in shaping what comes next. Maybe she's not trying to blow up Maga just to destroy it. Maybe she's trying to blow it up so that it can rebuild, stronger, cleaner, and more honest. Or maybe, just maybe, this is the start of a new era. One where Candace Owens becomes the new face of American conservatism, independent of Trump, unafraid of backlash, and unapologetically her own. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. Candace Owens is changing the game. And as this storm continues to unfold, the conservative world will have to decide whether she's their greatest threat or their last hope.